Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Daughters of the Dragon, issue number one of, I believe, three. And these are double-sized books, so it's technically six. Anyway, not too shabby for all intents and purposes. Colleen Wing, Misty Knight. Let's get to talking about who made this book so that we can talk about the book itself. A little bit, at least. Jed MacKay is the writer. Travel Foreman is on pencils and inks. The colorist is Jordan Gibson. Letterer Ferran Delgado, and cover artist Andrew Robinson. So go back and check out Colleen Wing Explained in a Minute on Comic Book University. It will give you her powers because there's a mention here that she's got the power of the Iron Fist. That Colleen Wing has the power of the Iron Fist. Now, I don't see that in this book, and thank God. I did not enjoy that second season of Iron Fist. For all intents and purposes, like it just really wasn't great. And in the end, her getting the power of the Iron Fist, look, she had a portion of the Iron Fist, a little tiny hint of it, because of a transference that she had with Danny at one point when he saved her life. And that's how she was able to expel poisons from her body. That's what the real warrior spirit is, according to the comic books. Prior to this, that comic book is actually referenced, but I don't know if the point was actually gotten in it. Anyway, again, go check out 10 Things About Colleen Wing Explained in a Minute, or excuse me, just Colleen Wing Explained in a Minute. What do you call it? This is really just a tropey version of Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. You know, they didn't go deep into too much aside from that one storyline, which is a great storyline, mind you, that they referenced. They didn't really go back and reference much of anything in here. There's a brand new villain, which cool, and there's a bigger villain behind the scenes or behind them in a outdoor restaurant. It's basically just these kids who are all going on the highway and they think they're getting kidnapped on the highway, but it's actually not. They're all going to this one place that no one's ever heard of before that is supposed to be like a hippie resort, only in California, right? But any place in the country or in the world, all these places are actually only cults. It's like a little cult, but this is worse than a cult because they're actually being used for something. Instead of just the aggrandization of the cult leader. So that was an interesting little twist on things. But yeah, the main villain, it felt like it could have gone on so much better than it did. It just turned out to be some big Banraku, this big puppet. That was the main bad guy. He had a giant puppet. Ooh, I was not impressed. I really wasn't. It might as well have been a puppet penguin because it just uses umbrella to block things, and I don't know. Colleen Wing kept on referencing Miyamoto Musashi from Goren no Sho, the Book of Five Rings, and it was cool. I really did like that. That was an unexpectedly cool part about this whole book. I really hope to see more of that. I'll probably read the next issue just because I love Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. I love the Daughters of the Dragon. Such like they're regular people with a couple extra little benefits, a couple extra perks, you know. But I'm hoping that they get more into the history of these characters, like really make this a deeper cut, you know. It would have been cool if they would have shown that Misty's arm was actually made out of anti-metal. It was actually made out of not Wakandan vibranium, Antarctic vibranium, where she could be like, oh, here's a bit of metal in here. Let me grab this, and psh, it melts like right at her touch. That would have been cool to see something like that. That, to know that Jed MacKay actually understands these characters. There was, like I said, there was one deep cut in here. That's it. One. And it was a good one. It was probably the best deep cut for Colleen Wing, but that's something you could have found on a Wikipedia page. You know what I'm saying? So I was really hoping it would go deeper and really get, because I didn't feel like this was Colleen Wing. I felt like this was her daughter, maybe. No, she doesn't have a daughter, but she might as well. It's comic books. Is all of a sudden there's a new daughter. But it felt like it was her kid at some point. It just didn't feel like her at all. It was like an old person trying to act hip, but she was getting all the hip words, and it just felt kind of sad. That's what it felt like, you know. It'd be like me if my old ass, you know, went and started trying to hang out with kids, and I was like, oh hey dude, and trying to use the lingo of nowadays. Hey, sometimes it rubs off if I meet somebody like this, you know, in the comic book store or wherever I'm at. It's like all of a sudden that word rubs off on you, you know, and I'm not adverse to using words that I'm not familiar with. You know, I'm happy to say things like that as long as I understand how the word is being used. But you know, when you could tell when someone's going out of their way to use that word. They wanted to use this word, but instead they choose to use the hip word because, you know, you want to seem young. Nah, dude. Times the hands of time don't work that way, all right? And that's really what it felt like in this book. But it wasn't self-aware that that's what was happening. Never was there a time where it's like, you know that you're old, right? There was never anything like that. There was never a moment where it's like, you know, oh God, I'm trying to use this lingo and I just can't. I can't keep up with it. There was nothing like that. It was characters who were clearly older, trying to act younger. At least with Colleen Wing, it just didn't rub off on me the right way. So it's funny. I still enjoyed this story. All these things that I'm saying that are negatives about the story, I still liked the story. You know, the art was very interesting. Again, there was a couple of really, really good points in here. I love the Musashi stuff, you know, but God, I honestly can't put my finger on it why I like this book, but I do. That's got to be a good thing. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be a good thing. It's not nostalgic, but this was can I say it's good? Am I allowed to say it's good with all my complaints? I'm going to read the next issue. All right, so gauge it from that. All right, with all the complaints I had, I definitely want to read the next issue. All right, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.